I want to call to order the June 16, 2016 meeting of the Ascension Parish Council. Right now, I'd like to ask everyone to please stand for the invocation, and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. Lord, we thank you for this gathering tonight, this opportunity for people to come together and make decisions about the parish that we live in. Lord, we have some special blessings tonight with all the guests we have. Right now, we'd like for you to lift up the hearts of those that have had losses here recently. We want to recognize the loss of one of our fellow council members, a parish president of Plaquemines Parish, Mr. Amos Cormier, passed away today. And we want to send our prayers to the Moran and Mole family in Santamar for the loss of Laney Moran, their sister. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to add one to that prayer list. Consider Sotil Denina, my cousin who passed away. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Right now, we'd roll call, Madam Secretary. Please note that all council people are present except Councilman Joseph and Councilman Turner. And before we go on, while we're doing roll call, we have a retired council member, Mr. George Valentine, in the house. Thank you, sir. And we have a sitting Gonzales council member, Mr. Neil Burke. And we also have our assessor, Mr. Mert Smiley. And I think that's, we got one more.
Judge Turner.
We have Judge Turner. Thank you, sir, for coming. So we have some distinguished guests tonight, but we have more distinguished visitors. We thank y'all for coming. We'll move right along. Chair's Edition, we have one application for Chair's Edition. Came out of Transportation Committee recommendation 2 days ago. And from Transportation Chairman Todd Lambert, we move forward for the approval request for qualifications to go out for RFQ for a consulting engineering firm for the implementation of Ascension Parish Transportation Master Plan.
Make that motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Cagnlott. Any opposition? Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Councilman Dawson.
Yes.
Councilman Satterley.
Yes.
Councilman Dempsey Lambert.
Yes.
Councilman Todd Lambert.
Yes.
Councilman Lawler.
Yes.
Councilwoman Casso.
Yes.
Councilman Cagnalotti.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Yes. We'll move that to agenda item 10A. And I also want to make note that we'll be passing on agenda item 18. Wait, let me go back. Then I moved around on me. Agenda item 20 at the request of Councilman Joseph. And of course, that'll cover 20, 21, and 22.
19, 20.
I apologize. There we go. 19, 20, 21. With that said, we'll move on to a public comment period. Anyone wishing to speak on an agenda item, please sign in with the secretary and you'll be given time when that agenda item comes up. We'll move right into our presentations. The first presentation we have is proclamation to proclaim Miss Shirley Burke Day in Ascension Parish. We welcome the family to come up.
Come up, First Lady Gonzalez.
First Lady.
And with a great honor do I present this to a fine lady and family that has been in Gonzales and got many, many stories that are just unbelievable. And it's just people like you that made Ascension Parish what it is today. To proclaim June 16th, 2016 as Shirley Burke Day in Ascension Parish. Whereas Shirley Mia Burke was born on May 16th, I'm not going to say that year, in Gonzales, Louisiana, to Vic and Lena Rome Mia, and she recently celebrated her 93rd, 93rd birthday with her loving family, and whereas known for having a strong work ethics, Shirley graduated from Gonzales High School in 1939 and completed her studies in business college while working in local attorney starting at the age of 17. Now you got to try to get them out of bed at 17. And whereas Shirley and neighbor L.P. Burke Jr., friendly, sincere they were 5 years old, drew close together as the years passed by and shared fond memories of their families and fathers, which included Shirley's father, Ascension Parish Sheriff Vic Burke, and LP's father, Gonzales Town Marshal Leslie Red Burke Sr., and whereas years later Shirley and LP fell deeply in love and were joined in the holy matrimony on January 27, 1942, at St. Teresa of Avila Catholic Church in Gonzales, and whereas Shirley's career continued as she worked alongside LP in the very successful business, Burke Real Estate, which developed 7 subdivisions in Gonzales from 1956 to 1983, and whereas the owners of Gonzales' first beauty shop, Shirley's Beauty Shop, in 1948, whereas as the blessed marriage grew, so did their immediate family as their arrivals of Les III, Vic, Neil, Dawn, and Stacy, which through the years grew to include 16 grandchildren and 24 great-grandchildren and 4 great-grandchildren, with 1 more on the way. When I could talk about the money she lent LP, I won't talk about that. Okay. Whereas fellowship and love have always surrounded Shirley as she continues enjoying life, playing cards, and with her many friends and members of the Broadway Club, Bourre Club since 1955, cooking wonderful meals with her family and as an avid New Orleans Saints and LSU fan. Now, therefore, it proclaimed I, Kenny Matassa, President of Ascension Parish, State of Louisiana, by virtue of authority vested in me, to hereby recognize Thursday, June 16, 2016, as Shirley Burke Day. Thank you.
Well, I would like to thank the parish president and all the councilmen and those that alerted us to all of this. And of course, Gonzales has been my passion all my life and my family. And I'm a strong dedicated to Ascension Parish. But I do want to thank you, Kenny. This is a wonderful, wonderful tribute to me. I'm sorry that my husband's not here to see it. Me too. Yeah.
Thank you and the whole family. Appreciate y'all for coming and everything y'all do for Ascension Parish. Thank you. Y'all want to take a picture? Come on in. We're going to
Try to get everybody lined up.
Come on over.
Stay right here. Yeah, can you kneel in the front?
Take 3 shots on 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 more. 1, 2, 3. 1 more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. One more, y'all.
Oh, I cannot believe this. I'm glad you said that, Stacy.
Yeah, it looks great. Okay, everybody?
Good thing it wasn't a cool.
We all in? Okay, here we go. We'll take 2 shots on 3. 1, 2, 3. 1 more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
It came off. Found it on the ground. Hey, Neil, how you doing? Congratulations.
Part of the first one they did in New Orleans. Oh, really? That's she's all about Thank you, Kenny.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, the next dedication is for one of our dear friends who have passed and their great family that is here tonight. But before I call them up, I'm going to call Mr. George Valentine, his good friend, to say a few words. Mr. Gorney Gotra.
Thank you. Council, thank you for having me, Parish President, and inviting me to be at this occasion. Ellie, I can tell you, some of the best times of my life was with Gorney. Gorney was a guy that you just couldn't help but like. He had a lot of good things about him. He had absolutely no bad things about him. Now, Ellie may differ with me. One of the things that he was good at giving advice, and one of the things when I first got elected, one of the things he told me, he says, now, George, he says, look, you're not going to win all the battles. What you got to do, though, is you got to make sure that they don't know that you get to them when they beat you. But I have the same problem that the chairman has. I turn red when I get out of here. So everybody knows when I get upset. But the 16 years we served on the school board together was some of the best times. Gorney had pretty much took me under the wing. That's the only reason I ran for public office, and I'm glad I did. I had a wonderful 24 years of service, but Gorney was there with me every step of the way. He has a great family. Ricky and I started way out early. Gorney was in retail. I was in retail. That's how we got to know each other. Gorney was like a dad to me. And I was glad I got to see him before he died. He was such a good friend. He was always there when you needed him. And he was always there with advice. And it was sometimes you didn't want to take it. Like one night I can remember, he used to work at a trucking firm, and he'd get off at 11 o'clock. And that's when we did some of our best work at night. And so we had taken my wife's brand new van that she had, and naturally it was political season. And we were out there for Roy Kazare, so we was down in St. James Parish. Back then you put signs on poles. That actually meant something, you know. So we stopped at this spot, and I got out. He said, get out there and put that sign up there. So I got out there, and I went to put that sign, and I heard, pow. Oh, and I ducked my head like I knew what I was doing, ran back in the car. I said, get out of here, they're shooting at us. He said, oh, they ain't shooting at us, that's a backfire. He said, but I'll go. So we rode down the road a little bit. He said, come on, let's get back. We're gonna get a pole, we're gonna get a sign up on that pole. Went back to that pole. I jumped out, went to hit the nail, nailed it on that pole. Pow! Another shot. I ducked my head. He said, I think you're right. I think that was a shot. That was when I didn't take all his advice. But I'm glad I'm able to be here tonight to honor him, and for the Gautreaux family, it's just been a great, wonderful time that we've had, and all the trips that Miss Ellie and my wife Randy and we all went on. It was just super. He was a great mentor, and I lost my dad early, and he took his place in those years when I didn't have a dad. He was just great. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Appreciate that. Will the Gautreaux family come up, please? I just want to say, before we start this, that Sheriff Wallace said he was very sorry he couldn't make it. He had to leave town earlier today, but Gorney was one of his very true early friends. And, you know, if you sat on that swing in the back, you had a shot to win for election, I promise you. This dedication is for Gorney Gautreaux Senior Hop. They got me a senior hop, which Gorney went to Tommy with this great idea to put together a sock hop dance at Lamar Dixon. And he said he was going to take care of everything, as he always does. And he took care of setting it up. He took care of having a sponsor, cook, so the people came. They ate. He set up getting the band. And so when he started that first, and I don't remember the date it started, but he took care of that every month with help with some, like Miss Kinchin and others of the parish. So this was just one of his accomplishments, but it was just so good because so many people love going there at no cost, you know, and I mean, they had like 7, 8 people playing almost every time you go. On April 12th, 1937, Gorney Joseph Gautreaux, a.k.a. Father, came into the world as the blessed son of Eddie and Emma Gautreaux, and dear brother of Eddie Jr., N.C., and Betty Gautreaux. And whereas, as a lifelong resident of Gonzales and an avid public servant, Gorney coached Little League football and baseball for 15 years, leaving many young athletes with the inner values of hard work and fairness. And whereas Gorney continued his dedication service to the residents of Ascension as serving on Ascension Parish School Board for 26 years, nothing that he never lost an election. And whereas Gorney, dedicated public servant as Creed, continued through the employment with Ascension Parish government beginning in 2000 and finished in early 2016, where he was Director of Public Relations, Public Programs, Economic Development, Recreation, and Sales, Marketing Manager in Lamar Dixon Expo Center. And whereas, while Director of Recreation, Gorney beloved people of all ages, so had recreation activities available to them. And so he developed the very successful Ascension Parish Sock Hop and was a fixture of the event with a smile and a glimmer of his eyes. Therefore, I, Kenny Matassa, Parish President of Ascension, State of Louisiana, by virtue and authority vested in me, do hereby rename the dedicated of the Gorney Gautreaux Senior Sock Hop in honor and memory of Gorney Gautreaux's exemplary leadership, dedication, and tireless service of the residents of Ascension Parish. Thank you so much.
Rick?
Yeah, you do. You do. Just tell him Daddy loved to work.
I just want to thank everyone for this most gracious gesture. It's kind of ironic that he gets named after a dance, which is probably the only thing he couldn't do. I can't tell you guys how much it means to us. We miss him terribly. Still have trouble talking about it, but I know he affected a lot of you in the same way. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Rick.
Any of y'all want to come take a picture?
Take 3 shots on 3.
After what, he wouldn't call me. He wouldn't call me land, but he could just, hey, Demko, come on. Hey, Demko, I need some help. Oh, right, he knew it. We had
Thank you. That was very nice. I miss everybody.
And before we move on, just to elaborate on what George said, is that going and doing good work at night, some of his best work, I remember helping me out on, was being at a baseball field at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, where you had one league mad at the other league, and everybody was mad at the parish. And he worked it out, and they back on the field, and he did that type of thing many a day and night. So we sincerely appreciate him, and we're going to miss him also.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a comment from All South. Oh, come up.
And that's under your parish president's report?
Yes, sir.
We'll move on to that.
Ready, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
So Steve Smith with All South, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. All South is pleased to have been selected by this council to perform the owner's rep services for the P3 wastewater initiative. We really appreciate the opportunity to work with this council and look forward to providing some high-quality professional services that will certainly gain the confidence and trust of all parish government officials here in Ascension. As with any competitive selective process, we know we were competing against a couple of high-quality firms, and we know that as we move through a process like that, you have some personal preferences and differences of opinion that sometimes generate a little bit of dissension and sometimes some hard feelings. I'm here tonight to express to you on behalf of my team that we feel like the process, frankly, was open and fair. We believe that our proposal didn't suffer because of any actions or inactions on the administration, and don't feel we communicated as such. Okay, we look forward to working with this council and the administration on what is basically a monumental task to improve this community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Parish President, anything else on your report?
No, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we'll move on to agenda item number 7, the consent agenda. The chair would recognize a motion to accept the consent agenda. Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Cagnalotti. Any opposition? Motion passes. I got to soften that blow. We'll move on to general business. Agenda item number 8, resolution to authorize Parish President Kenny Matassa to negotiate contracts with the Louisiana Department of Health and Hospitals to execute all documents on behalf of the parish and to do all things necessary to implement, maintain, amend, or renew said documents.
Yes,
Mr.
this is,
Parrington.
this is for the WIC program and for
Right.
the Children's Nutrition Program. That this is DHH's resolution that they require us to sign.
So moved, Mr.
A
Chairman.
motion by Mr. Todd Lambert,
Second. Aaron.
second by Mr. Aaron Lawler. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. We'll move on to agenda item number 9, agreement between St. Bernard Parish Sheriff James Polam and Ascension Parish for housing of juveniles in St. Bernard Detention Center. Mr. Parrington.
Yes. I don't know if you know this, but the Assumption Parish Juvenile Detention Center, which we had a contract with, closed. As a result, it closed on May 31st. As a result, our juveniles will move to the only place that they could find beds, which was St. Bernard. And this is essentially a temporary agreement for a 60-day lease of 6 spaces from St. Bernard Parish. This is the only place that we have to put juveniles. At the end of 60 days, we will probably have to extend this because
Yeah.
we don't have another place to go. But right now, this is about the best we can do.
And I just want to give the cliff notes of some of the meetings that have been held in the 23rd JDC, that this is a tri-parish, Assumption, St. James, and Ascension. So this is an issue that burdens us all. If y'all remember, we had this discussion, Ms. Cazzo, you remember being totally involved in this about 3 or 4 years ago. Parish president's been in meetings, and we've been in meetings, said this is a stopgap measure. But we will have some meetings in the short future to look at what our long-term opportunities are. And Parish President, if you wish to expand on that.
I just want to say that last year we averaged 10 beds, and this is for, St. Bernard's not just wanting us, they're helping us in this matter.
Right.
So that's why we're just doing 2 months at a time. But recently, the state adopted moving the 17-year-olds back to juvenile, which is going to increase big time. So, like Mr. Clouard said, we've been talking and negotiating with the judges and the sheriffs on the matter. So we'll keep y'all informed, and we got to do what we got to do. Thank you.
Yes, and I think the 17-year-old deal was on the governor's desk. I think he signed it possibly yesterday. So, you know, we're talking to the judges. We don't know the total outcome of that. When they wrap that gavel, that'll have an outcome of what we have to do to help the juveniles while they're incarcerated. Most of them are short terms. Some of them are long term. If y'all remember, those of you that've been here on the council, we went through all the new regulations, and it's basically put the St. James facility to a point where it's not feasible for renovation, nor is it feasible for St. James to maintain it. We had the Assumption option going for a while, and that was our stopgap measure then, and since then that's changed, and so you will be seeing something in the coming month or two, and most of you guys will be a part of it anyway, to try to look at what we're going to do for long term. And so this, they have a good facility down in St. Bernard, and I think several people visited that facility, and they have the room to take the juveniles that we send. With that being said, the chair would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Dempsey Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. We'll move to agenda item number 10, resolution authorizing and approving the issuance, sale, and delivery to the not to exceed $4,105,000 of water utility revenue refunding bonds in one or more series of Ascension Consolidated Utilities District Number 1, State of Louisiana. Mr. Bond Counselor Malcolm Dugar and Financial Advisor Mr. Jim Ryan.
Good evening, Councilman and ladies. This came up at the Utilities Committee meeting. This is, and Jim will explain it to you, but it's a resolution. We found some bonds as we checked every so often that come up, and there's an opportunity to basically refinance the bonds, and we found one that we thought would be worthwhile, so Jim will explain it to you.
And just from a financial point of view, we're kind of doing this backwards. Usually we get the district to approve it, and then the parish council, and we go to the bond commission. But 10-year treasury right now is at a 157, which I think is the lowest it's ever been in my lifetime. So rates are really, really good right now. So we're trying to make this go as quickly as possible. We've had trouble getting a quorum at the ACUD meeting. So rather than wait on them, we just decided to come to y'all and get this step done anyway. We think we can save them about $500,000 if we can close, today. And as you all know, rates change every day, so that's a shot number. But right now, that's about where we're at. So that's what we're asking for. And again, as always, if we can't do the savings and can't do the deal, there's no fees paid, no expenses incurred.
Good.
They don't owe us anything.
Good deal. Utilities Chairman, Mr. Benny Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This did come out of utilities with unanimous approval to move this forward, so I'll make the motion that we approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Benny Johnson, second by Mr. Sadley. Any discussion? Yes, Mr. Dawson, CAO.
Yes, sir. I just want to let the council know that we will be having an ACUD 1 meeting on Monday at 11, so it will complete the complete circle. So we'd like for you gentlemen to be there. We'll be over on the West Bank at the HR conference room.
We'll be there. And I wanted to mention that I did talk to Mr. Dawson at the utilities meeting, and he set that up. So appreciate the help.
Good deal.
Thank you.
Thank you, fellas. Any further discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. We'll move on to the added agenda item, number 10A, come out of the Transportation Committee, the approval to request qualifications to provide general engineering consulting services for development and implementation of Ascension Parish Transportation Master Plan. Transportation Chairman, Mr. Todd Lambert.
Yeah, I think Bill probably can give us a little bit more highlights on it, but it's basically to get a master plan in place on transportation and get some priorities on which roads we need to move forward first on. And I think Bill has a little bit more to probably
We went
put in on it.
Yeah, we went into in-depth on this at a transportation meeting, but just to bring everybody else up to date, what we want to do is hire a consultant to come in and assist us in forming a master transportation plan. And again, I emphasize assist us. They're not going to come in here and say, this is what we recommend. Basically, we know what we need in Ascension Parish. We're looking at what we need in not this year, next year, but 30 years from now. And we're going to go with a plan of how we're going to implement the construction and design, construction, and financing of this plan. And I'll give you a for instance. We're looking at 4-laning, 431 all the way with roundabouts. We're looking at 4-laning all your main corridors within Ascension Parish with roundabouts or the similar type of intersection improvements. We're looking at on Interstate 10, we're looking at the multi-lane in the Interstate 10 all the way. And then again, this is something that we're going to be working with the state and other people with. But proposing the 6-laning of Interstate 10 all the way to 22 from Baton Rouge. But also with that, part of the plan will be looking at actually putting frontage roads in all the way along I-10 within Ascension Parish. The purpose of that is to eliminate the standard cloverleaf type interchange and go with an on-off, similar to Texas type situation, where we can put in addition to the infrastructure, the access to the interstate, put in economic development along the interstate and making the interstate as your main corridor for economic development within the parish. We have a lot of other things going into this. Part of the reason that we need this plan, and again, we're going to the nth degree. We're taking it all the way to 30 years from now and backing off into the things that we accomplish in 5-year increments. 5 years, 10 years, 15, and so on. The other important thing with this, and we're doing it a little bit different, I think, than other reports, is that I think most of our other major projects, including development, is going to be tied directly to this document. What we want to do once it's implemented and once it's approved by the council, then we will get it put in ordinance as law within Ascension Parish. So this is something that can't be or not easily changed every time the administration changes or the council changes. This is something that will be in place that the parish can follow for at least 30 years. The other thing that we're looking at with this document once we accept it as an ordinance in law, then we can actually put that and use it as corridor preservation. So we can go in this, into the parish, and all of these corridors, what we're planning over the next umpteen years to 4-lane or improve, that we can actually bring in planning and zoning ordinances for setbacks and corridor preservation, so we can start acquiring right-of-way and start making sure that we don't have encroachment into these right-of-ways to make it harder in the future to actually develop and place these roads in where they need the expansion of these roads. So again, it's a far-reaching document. I think that if it's done right, it'll probably be the single most important document that the parish has passed in many years, if ever. There should be, because everything else is dependent on it, including sewer, including utilities. Everything can be tied into this master document. We're going to use it to implement other improvements within the parish. So again, it's something that I don't think anybody here has ever seen before, and we're looking forward to get started with it and get something at least for the public to look at and say we're moving forward.
Thank you, sir. Mr. President.
You know, when I took over and I talked with the chairmans and said y'all wanted a master plan. So Bill has been working diligently, and so we had to point to bring in somebody to put all of the studies we have. Those of you who have dealt with crisis know that the lane on the interstate is in there, the number one priority, and then Highway 30 is like second or third. So if you don't have your stuff ready when the federal funds come around, they pass you by. So this is going to be a very important document. Thank y'all.
Make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Dempsey Lambert. Any further discussion? Yes, Mr. Bill.
Bill, what's the schedule? You have an idea of schedule of completion of this? Rough number.
Rough numbers, I have to have it in place, at least a draft copy by middle of next year.
So a year from now?
Yeah, a year from now. And the reason for that is again, this is politics. Everybody works on a 4-year basis. I've got to get this thing, or we have to get this thing in place and start working it and have it, or again, put in as an ordinance so we can start working with economic development, the wastewater systems and everything else, because part of this plan, again, is identifying, number one, the exact footprint where these improvements are going to go. That is also going to dictate right-of-way requirements and stuff like that. They're also going to dictate ordinances within planning and zoning for a setback for subdivisions and everything else. And it'll give us the opportunity to start acquiring right-of-way. A lot of the money that we can be collecting through the collection of impact fees can help us go toward, paying for some of this. But I'll give you another example. If we get this in place, say, for instance, a developer comes in and we got, as part of our plan, it says that we need another additional 50 foot outside the state right-of-way for this master plan in later years. We can start, and we'll have to have a timeline on those improvements. But we can maybe negotiate with the developer and say, look, in lieu of credits, we want the right-of-way. You need the right-of-way to us. And again, we need this in place soon so we can start activating this plan, the strategy to start collecting right-of-way, start collecting some money, to go forward with this. The other thing, too, as part of this, I don't want to leave out, is our local roads. We're going into a road widening project, similar we had over the last 10, 15 years. And I want to start that project by the end of the year, which is an additional 10 miles of road widening of important parish roads. So again, it's something that we're going to be pushing real hard to get started on. We might even implement part of the plan before the entire plan, just so we can get started on some of the local projects that we want to do. So again, by the middle of next year, we want a lot of this in place.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Todd Lambert.
And like Bill said, we know our problems. We know the roads that need attention, and, we've been through several plans, and the biggest problem is the finances. And this master plan is going to include that, which is a big plus.
Yeah, and it will, again, part of the bringing in this firm is to figure out strategy, how we implement some of the phases of it. And again, I'm working because we all work on time more than phases. We're working on the time of a 5-year increments, and we're gonna nail everything down, say what will be accomplished in 5 years, what will be accomplished in 10, and so on and so forth, so we got something to gauge. And we working real hard to meet those goals.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Mr. Sadler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Bill. This goes to yourself or maybe President Matassa. Just a few short weeks ago, we were in Jackson Hole at a police jury meeting, and a bunch of us sat in to a transportation workshop. And one of the things that I was impressed with and spoke to the president about is the possibility in the parish bill of doing road safety audits.
Mm-hmm.
Is that within the scope of services here for what's being proposed tonight?
That could be part of the priority system in choosing the which ones are done first. It's going to be both the economic impact of some of this improvement, but also safety. It's going to play a big part in it. Now, I can also say that the local roads is based almost entirely on safety. The road widening, like we did on Parker Road, Joseph Ario, Booth Road, and the rest of them over the last 10 years, 15 years, were basically based on safety. And those road widening projects of the parish road is a #1 priority with safety of those roads. So local roads is #1 is the safety aspect, but all of it be, the safety part of it be part of the priority of choosing which one is done first and stuff like this. And again, a lot of this, and going back to say 431 and some of these major roads, one of the reasons we want to try to implement this plan, get it on paper, is the fact that when money is available, we can't go in and do parts of the road. For instance, the intersections, the roundabouts. We can do a roundabout, a couple roundabouts when money's available. But with this document here, we can go in there and do the roundabout according to tied it into a 4-lane highway system. So when we get money to fill in between those things, we don't have to touch the roundabouts. You know, they're ready for the 4-lane, they're ready to come in, and we do those sections, you know, a piece at a time if necessary. So again, this the main thing is get it on paper.
Thank you. It sounds like a yes, and that's
Yes.
good. So, and I think, you know, the president and I had talked about this at that meeting, that we probably have a good bit of the data needed for road safety audits inside of APSO, which would be just one starting point. But I'd like to see safety be one of the guiding principles toward whatever we're going to do with the road master transportation.
And when you go into this type of project, even though if you don't consider the safety part in the initial phases of it, the fact of the matter is when you go into 4-lane with a separated median and stuff like that, automatically you're improving safety.
Right.
You know, that's right off the bat that happens. So.
Yeah, of course. Now, I was looking at the tool more as a prioritization tool too, as to what squeaky wheel might get the grease first.
And that is also a priority in choosing even our local improvements for us overlay projects that we're doing in-house. We're going with safety first, traffic count second, and road usage last.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Parish President.
This will be a total package: safety, traffic, and a component of fixing, not cold patching, but actually fixing failures, mostly in the subdivisions, and make those roads last a lot longer. When I got with Bill and discussed it, and our transportation chairman, it's a total package deal, and we ordered equipment that we never had to fix potholes and things correctly to make the whole road last longer.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion? Any opposition? Thank you, Mr. Rue. Passed. We'll move on to agenda item number 11, introduction of ordinances. Introduction of ordinance, budget amendment number 5 to amend the 2016 budget. Mr. Parrington.
It's an introduction.
Motion introduced.
Okay.
Second.
Motion to introduce was Mr. Johnson, second by Mr. Cagnalotti. Any opposition? It's introduced. We'll move on to introduction of ordinance, agenda item number 12.
Motion.
Madam Secretary, please note that Councilman Dempsey Lambert recused himself from this agenda item.
Motion by Denny,
What's it?
Denny motion.
Introduction of ordinance to grant non-exclusive franchise to Livingston Parish Gas for installation, operation, and maintenance of natural gas systems within the unincorporated areas of Ascension Parish. We have a motion by Mr. Benny Johnson, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Any objections? Madam Secretary, please note, no objections. Councilman Dempsey Lambert, recused. We'll move on to the public hearing. Ordinances. Agenda item number 13, reading of ordinance. Budget amendment number 4 to amend the 2016 budget. Mr. Parrington.
An ordinance to amend an ordinance approving, adopting, and appropriating 2016 operating and capital budgets for the Parish of Ascension, adopted by Ascension Parish Council on the 19th day of November 2015. Section 1. Ascension Parish Council hereby ordains that the ordinance approving, adopting, and appropriating 2016 operating and capital budgets for the Parish of Ascension is hereby amended, approved, and appropriated as follows. Operating budget, general fund, general administration expenditures, professional service, strategic consulting and advocacy services, $90,000. Maintenance fund expenditures, major repairs, installation of polyurethane roofing system for the building in the back of the Ascension Parish Government Complex, $84,000. The ordinance has been submitted to a vote. The vote thereon was as follows.
Motion to open public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to open public hearing by Mr. Todd Lambert.
Second.
Second by Mr. Sadley.
Motion to close.
Motion to close by Mr. Sadley.
Second.
Second by Mr. Cagnotti. Chair would entertain a motion on order. We have a motion by Mr. Todd Lambert. Second by Mr. Cagnotti. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. We'll move on to agenda item number 16, reading of ordinance to declare surplus and authorize the sale and/or transfer of miscellaneous movable equipment, pumper truck, and international tanker. Mr. Parrington.
Purpose to declare and authorize the sale and transfer of miscellaneous movable equipment, whereas the Parish of Ascension has certain assets that is surplus and no longer viable to retain, whereas the assets are no longer served or have any public purpose, whereas the Parish of Ascension desires to declare said assets as surplus and provide for sale or transfer of the same, whereas it be it ordained the Ascension Parish Council acting in its capacity of governing authority that it hereby declares and listing of the assets attached hereto and made a part hereof as Exhibit A as surplus and authorize the sale or transfer of the same. In the event any portion of this ordinance ever held invalid, unconstitutional by any reason of any court of competent jurisdiction over it, such portion shall be deemed separate, distinct, and independent provisions, shall not affect the validity of remaining portions of the ordinance. The effective date of the ordinance shall be in full effect as submitted by law. The ordinance has been submitted to a vote. The vote thereon was as follows.
Open the public comment.
Motion to open public hearing by Mr. Sadley.
Second.
Second by Ms. Cazzo.
Motion to close.
Motion to close by Mr. Sadley.
Second.
Second by Mr. Cagnotti.
Move the ordinance.
Motion to move the ordinance by Mr. Sadley.
Second.
Second by Ms. Cazzo. Any discussion? Any opposition? Ordinance is moved. We've passed on 19, 20, 21. We'll move on to agenda item number 22, reading of ordinance. 2, amend the Ascension Parish Unified Land Development Code to provide cost incurred for additional plots and plan review.
To amend the Ascension Parish Unified Land Development Code to provide costs incurred for additional plat and plan review, whereas Ascension Parish, the local government subdivision is defined by Article 6, Section 44, Louisiana Constitution 1974, whereas the Parish of Ascension is a governing responsible body within the jurisdiction, whereas Article 6 of the Home Rule Charter of Ascension Parish, adopted May 4th, 1993, identifies the process and manner in which to adopt ordinances regulating the lands of this parish, whereas the code was incorporated by Appendix 7 of the Unified Land Development Code, adopted December 17, 2009, amended January 2015. Now therefore be it ordained the Ascension Parish governing authority that Appendix 7 of the Ascension Parish Unified Land Development Code is hereby amended as follows. See Exhibit A. Attached hereto and made a part hereof. In the event any portion of this ordinance ever held invalid or unconstitutional by any reason of any court of competent jurisdiction over it, such portion shall be deemed separate, distinct, independent provisions, shall not affect the validity of remaining portions of the ordinance. The effective date of the ordinance shall be in full effect as submitted by law. The ordinance have been submitted to a vote. The vote thereon was as follows.
Chair would entertain a motion.
Motion to open public hearing.
Motion to open public hearing by Mr. Benny Johnson, second by Mr. Dempsey Lambert. We have one speaker, Mr. Jeff Pettit.
Good evening.
Jeff.
Hey, Randy, everybody. I have one question. I did a public records request to the parish asking for the documentation where to show where Mr. Dawson has publicly stated and Mr. Matassa said that not only would our new plan be revenue neutral, it would actually make money for the parish. I asked for those records, and I've got to be honest with you, and I can supply those records that were given to me through the public records request to everybody here and show you that it did not, what was supplied did not meet the request. Now, Mr. Dawson has publicly stated, and President Matassa has stated that it's a 23% increase on 2 different occasions publicly before this body. It's a 23% revenue increase on getting studies done by developers, paid for by them, and a positive to the parish. I would like to see that publicly to everybody in the parish. It's a great thing. I really would like to see that happen. But what was supplied to me in the public records request did not show that whatsoever. I would ask the council to please ask the administration, President Matassa and CAO Mr. Dawson, to please supply that documentation and show us, and show every citizen of Ascension Parish that we're being good stewards of the public's business. And that's my request to this council. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Chair would entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
A motion by Mr. Benny Johnson, second by Mr. Cagnalotti. The chair would entertain a motion now for the move the ordinance.
Motion.
We have a motion by Ms. Terry Cazzo, second by Mr. Dempsey Lambert. Discussion. Mr. Lawler.
Yes, I guess my question is, I'm trying to find, it's on page 5 of 9 on my iPad. It's under, let's see, commercial fees. I'm just trying to find the best way to find it on here. It only goes up to 22 acres. The initial fee is $750 for the first acre, and then it's $150 up to 22 acres. Is there a reason it's not done ad infinitum or $150 per acre above 1 acre? Well, is it random that it stops at 22?
This has been the zoning fee.
No, I understand.
We're just adding if you go above this. I don't know where this is the ordinance as it stands now.
And that's what I was curious if there was a basis for 22 acres or larger. It seems to me that it should continue ad infinitum from that point. Is there any reason that it doesn't, I guess is my question.
Well, this is a zoning fee, not a real plan review. So if someone's seeking I didn't develop this. I think the former planning director did. But because it's just a rezoning, all you're doing is bringing a rezoning before the parish.
No, I understand that, but for the application and review fee, it's $750 for 1 acre, and then each acre thereafter, up to 22 acres, it's another $150.
That's just the way the ordinance is.
Okay. I'd like to offer, I guess I would do it as a substitute motion to amend this to make it $750 for the first acre plus $150 per acre thereafter ad infinitum. Does that make sense? Because I just don't see why there's a random stop at 22 acres. Most of our subdivisions are larger than 22 acres. It seems like that should just go on per the size of the subdivision.
This is not a subdivision. This is a rezoning of a piece of land. That's
Well,
why this is not a subdivision.
No, I'm sorry, but for the piece of land, it just seems odd that we stop at 22 acres without rhyme or reason.
Benny made a motion.
Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Lawler, are you offering up a substitute?
I'm offering up a substitute motion.
Substitute motion to go with $750 for the first acre?
And $150 per acre thereafter.
Per acre thereafter.
As to only that page, that's one.
As to only that page. And I don't see where there's an actual number on the page, that's why I'm just referring to page 5 of 9 based on the iPad.
It would be the zoning fees is what we're talking about.
Zoning fees. Mr. Parrington, were you able to get that jotted down? And,
Sure.
You got it recorded?
Yeah, have it, if he wants to change it.
We
it'll
have a
just be seven-
substitute motion by Mr. Aaron Lawler. Do we have a second?
Mr. Chairman.
Do we have a second?
Mr. Chair.
We have a second by Mr. Bill Dawson. Discussion. Mr. Sadler.
Yeah, just as a point of clarity, I'm looking at page 5 now. I didn't notice this before, but it doesn't just go up by 150 per acre up to 22 acres. It does so up to 21, and then for some mysterious reason, between 21 and 22, it goes up $100 and not 150. I don't guess that matters with the substitute motion, which I'm going to probably support, because I don't, like legal counsel, I wasn't around when this was done, but if it's a chance now, since we're adding to some of the other pages, these fees that are associated with pre-application meetings and so forth, and penalties that if things don't work out because it's incomplete or incorrect, we got to go a second or third round. This is the opportunity, I think, ladies and gentlemen, to do something about why do we stop, unless someone can give me a reason. I think that Mr. Lawler asked for it as well, as to why we stop at 22 acres. And I do agree, subdivisions are, at least in my neck of the woods, are usually much larger than 22 acres. So, thank you.
If the council would allow the chair a moment, looking for where this came from, I would assume that anything of this type came out of Planning and Zoning Department. And Mr. Dawson, you being the lone soldier left sitting at the table, and I apologize, sir, but I would reflect back on the administration as this came to us between you and Mr. Parrington. So this is something that's been in the making for a good while.
These are the fees that y'all increased when you doubled the fees. This is the fee thing that you chose. The purpose of them were presented to us from the planning department. We don't, that's the only reason that's the only thing I would know is when we doubled all the fees.
Yeah.
They doubled all the fees, and this was where this is.
And the same verbiage was there, it's just a dollar figure change.
Yes, sir.
Make it simple.
Yes, sir. The
I
same
mean, for
verbiage.
clarity.
Yes, sir.
And if this continues to get any deeper, I don't know what other changes we plan on making to this tonight, but if this is something that we can't see tonight, eye to eye on, is just something that's critical to be passed tonight. Just, so with that, I'll stop talking.
I will offer another, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I would like to postpone this to let our new director that's coming on board review it, and we're in no rush. We can bring it back and make sure we're doing this right.
I'll second that motion also.
We have a third substitute motion. Second substitute, third motion. I knew you'd go correct me. All right. So anyway, motion to defer back to the Planning and Zoning Department for review by Mr. Dempsey Lambert, and second by Mr. Bill Dawson. And do we, I don't know if we want to, usually we get time frames stuck on this, so I don't know. But if either the administration or the new zoning director would care to speak, I welcome that, but I don't want to put anybody on the spot right now. Yes, Mr.
Mr.
Dawson.
Chairman, I would just ask that if there are any comments on this from the council, to look at it, because that's where it's coming from, because a lot of the past director and Lance and all those kind of look at this doubling fee. So is there any issues that you may have, please make sure you refer that to us so we can take into consideration.
We asked any council member that's got any question about this.
Yes, sir.
Should it be deferred tonight, to please
Yes. Just get it to.
expediently get up with the Planning and Zoning Department and administration. Yes, sir. Welcome to the jungle.
Thank you. My second day on the job, so.
You're doing a good job.
Thank you so much.
You have the courage to come, that's good.
Yeah, I actually did, yeah. So I'm glad to be here, and I gladly accept your motion, and I'll bring back to the next council meeting a report on that and
Thank
the
you, sir.
changes. Yeah. Had I had some notice that this item would have been up, I would have given you a report tonight, but I'll be happy to address that.
Well, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you so
With
much.
that,
Randy.
Mr. Bill Dawson.
I just wanted to give my comment, since, I have a question about the T&D fees. I see it's at $10,000 for the pre-app there, and like spuds and puds are $900. I don't understand. Maybe when you go back and look at it, just please let me know, why it's $10,000 for a T&D and $900 for a PUD. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Terry Cazzo.
I was just going to offer that perhaps the gentleman, as our new planning director, would just look at all these tables and fees and make sure we're in line and that we don't have any inconsistencies in them, and just give us a good thorough evaluation of all of them, if you would.
Madam Councilman, I'll be happy to do that, and I'm not sure I'll have enough time to review every one of the fees before the next meeting. I'll do my best.
Well, why not? My goodness, you couldn't possibly have anything else to do.
I would ask some grace on the council on this young man since he just got here.
All his hair fell out already.
Thank you so much. I had a full head of hair. Now, I'll be happy to report back on the matter that was up for discussion earlier by next meeting, but give me a little bit more time on the full scope of the fees, and I'll get back to you.
And I'm sure when you consult with your staff, you'll get some more input about where the origin, how did this evolve.
I'm sure I will, yeah.
And the administration.
Thank you so much.
Yes, Mr. Sadler.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, obviously all motions to defer that we now have on the table, be it amended motion number 2 or total motion number 3, require
That's
time.
what I said.
Time frames.
That's what I said.
And so the time frame originally was for the next meeting in order to accommodate Mr. Fournier wanting to do all of it. And I'd like to see it all, because why bring it back and do one and then him detect something later? I don't want to offer a fourth motion, but perhaps the gentleman that made the third motion would want to increase the time frame a little bit.
I think just a task at hand, just a task at hand.
Yeah, I don't think there's any time.
So it's open-ended, it's not necessarily coming back at our next meeting.
No, he said he would bring it back at the next meeting.
yeah.
This
Well,
task
One-
right
one
here.
task.
Just that
This
right.
task,
Yes.
this task right here, next meeting.
To vote?
It was up to vote tonight. He's gonna bring some clarity back, and I would hope that we could possibly get it out to all the council
Well,
members sometime before the meeting.
Let me interject this then. If we look closely at the whereases, I think a lot of the information you're going to need, it looks like this was extant back on December 17th of 2009. The changes of the top lines of each one of these categories occurred January 8th, 2015, which also probably explains why Councilman Lawler is a little confused. He wasn't here then. I do remember us making that one change, but I didn't detect what I consider to be a very good change he's asking for. But there may be others that Bill now is asking for, like with the TND stuff and so forth. So I'd be like to see this just all done at one time.
Okay. I'd be happy to address that at one time or as your preference. I guess my only concern is that we don't lose any revenue coming in with the fees if we delay the imposition of this ordinance that you're discussing tonight.
So do we anticipate some folks going to turn in complete and faulty stuff in, and we're going to be able to get more money by penalizing? I'm sorry, Jerome, you walked into that one, sir.
I know, yeah, I'll have the door open on that one.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know is the answer to that question, obviously, but,
Mr. Chairman, I don't feel that strongly about it if the author of the motion doesn't want to change it, but let's be sure we do a thorough job eventually.
Yeah. Councilmember, if I can give you a call, we can talk about that.
Excellent. Please do so.
Let's do that, please.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right.
Yes, Mr. Bill Dawson.
I'm going to stretch the rules on discussion a little bit and just ask the administration to please act on that Duncan contract.
Yes,
That, we're running, as we talked about last month, we're running out of time on that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And while we're on this subject, is, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Councilman Dawson.
Yes.
Councilman Satterly.
Yes.
Councilman Dempsey Lambert.
Yes.
Councilman Todd Lambert.
Yes.
Councilman Lawler.
Yes.
Councilwoman Casso.
Yes.
Councilman Cagnolati.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
So the original motion went away, the first amended motion or substitute motion went away, and we had the third motion, and that passed. Chair would entertain a motion to convene the executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Benny Johnson, second by Mr. Cagnolati. Any objection? We'll be adjourned to executive session.
Oh, you got a roll call, Randy.
Roll call.
Councilman Dawson.
Yes.
Councilman Satterly.
Yes.
Councilman Dempsey Lambert. Councilman Todd Lambert.
Yes.
Councilman Lawler.
Yes.
Councilwoman Casso.
Yes.
Councilman Cagnolati.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Chairman Kluwat.
Yes. We are adjourned.
Motion to reconvene,
We have a
Mr.
motion by
Chairman.
Mr. Todd Lambert to reconvene, second by Mr. Benny Johnson.
Yes, Councilman, this is in a matter where there was a claim against the parish. It was by Angel Arias, Candida Garcias, and Angela Garcia. The parish had given us authority to settle a case for $23,000, and I need a motion to authorize settlement of a payment of $10,000 to Angel Arias, $10,000 to Candida Garcia, and $3,000 to Angela Garcia.
We have
So
a
moved,
motion by
Mr.
Mr. Cagnolati, second by Ms. Cazzo. Any opposition? Motion passes. We'll move on to agenda item number 26.
So
We have
moved,
a
Mr.
motion
Chairman.
adjourned by Mr. Cagnolati.
Second.
Second by Mr. Johnson. We are adjourned.